Well, hello and welcome to Templates for Change series on nature's laws and harmonies. And I'm John Edge and I'm going to be presenting this series. And this is the first one, this is the introduction. And incidentally, this picture here is of a lovely misty sunrise in West Wales where I live. Okay, let's get started. Now, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that as you look into nature, while there's an incredible diversity in front of us, it also starts to become clear that there are remarkable laws and harmonies that lie behind everything we know and everything we see, from the universe to galaxies to our solar system to the planets like our Earth. And not only have we discovered this through our own experience and through our own wisdom gathered together since ancient times, but also science is now showing and confirming many of the things that the ancients were talking about many years ago, again, as we shall see. And these laws not only are found in the large, but they're also found in the small, into life forms, not only humans, but down to tiny insects and the very cells and elements from which all life arises, like that incredible, tiny, small solar system or universe itself, you might say, the cell. And if you look inside the cell, it's like a little solar system there. It's a quite remarkable, extraordinary living being. Now, one thing that has been totally amazing to me is the discoveries that our universe originated in what is often called the Big Bang, but from essentially a kind of tiny point, you might say, is the best we can put to it, I suppose, and then expanded into this extraordinary universe that we're part of today. So all these laws and harmonies that we see in existence around us today must have been part of the beginning of the universe itself. In a sense, they must have been programmed into the universe at its very start. So you could see, for example, that they could underline the design of the universe itself from its very first moments. And if they were there in the very first moments, then they will underline the design of everything in nature and on the earth, and will also underline everything about the human design too, and who we are and how we work in all forms, physically, mentally, spiritually, you might say. Now, of course, crucially, our own well-being depends on the balance of these laws in how we live our lives. So again, one of the most important things about trying to understand these kinds of laws is that we can see if we can understand them, then this can only benefit our own lives and our own well-being too. Now, when we look into the world, it does seem incredibly complicated, doesn't it? I'm sitting here looking out of my window at the moment, and you can see the trees and the sky, and then you can see the wind moving things, and all different trees, and everything looks extraordinarily remarkable, extraordinary, varied. So how is it going to be possible to explore this multiplicity to make sense of it? Now, there's one idea that's come to us from the ancients, which is looking at the universe, if you like, and looking at wisdom as a wheel. So if the universe, in its origin, created and is governed by laws that appeared at its heart, then in a sense you can see those laws to be at the center of this wheel. Now, we can also see therefore that if we follow the spokes out from the center, then those same laws will be governing everything on the periphery as well. everything that exists in our world. So if we're going now from the center of the wheel, where the laws of the universe lie, and we travel out to the multiplicity, then we can get the idea that the multiplicity in the lives that we see around us can be explained by the core laws that lie at the center of the wheel. So now, we're now going to see how can we find nature's laws and harmonies. And how are we going to discover these? Well, many things have opened this up to us. Science, of course our own experience, ancient wisdom throughout history and throughout the world have pointed to these laws and patterns that can be found everywhere. For example, let's take the concept of a law of two, a duality. Well, all the plants on our planet that we know of are only of one of two types, deciduous or evergreen. They keep their leaves or they lose them. And for all living things, 4 elements are needed for life to exist. There has to be air or gas of some kind to exchange. There has to be water, that's a fundamental element of life. There has to be earth or a place, a physical place, for it to be able to exist. And there has to be fire, which you can use the term energy, one form of energy. Mostly on our planet the energy comes from the sun, but it can have another form. Then you can see our human body is formed in a 5-pointed pentagram, and so much is connected to that pentagram to do with the human being. And again, that's found throughout the world of the ancients as well as in the modern world today. Then of course light breaks into a spectrum of 7 colors, and that's one of the fundamental laws that's found throughout the universe. And light, of course, was one of the very earliest forms of energy when it first appeared. So you could think, well, these patterns and laws can be fundamental to the universe and therefore fundamental to nature's designs and to our life. And if we can study them and get an idea of what they might be, then that's going to give us a whole opening into looking at the world and a window on our own life. Now, in this series, we're going to have a look at 6 of nature's laws and explore them in a bit more detail. And these are in the order of to do with 2, duality and origins, 3, which is the triad of energies, the 4-fold principle of growth, and then we're going to look at the 5-fold star of elements, the pentagram of elements, and then the spectrum of 7 colors, and also the cycle of 12, which is found in many places too. Okay, well, there incidentally is a rainbow, which is the spectrum, which is the most beautiful thing when you see it, isn't it? And again, this is a picture taken over the valley where I live in West Wales. So let's get started, and let's now have a look at nature's law of two.